Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of our EKN Debrief. In fact, it's episode number 111. It is Tuesday, April the 18th, 2023. My name is Rob Howden. David Cole will be joining me on this edition of the Debrief as we break down what happened at the finale for the 2023 Challenge of the Americas, the event happening this past weekend on April 14th to 16th in Sonoma, California at Sonoma Raceway, one of the coolest tracks in the country. The racing was fantastic. Lots to talk about. Championships, of course, up for grabs for that. What was Championship Sunday? So let's dive into this thing. And this week's show will be presented by Mega Power. For over 20 years, Greg Bell has been building race-winning power for kart racers. The name on this program, Mega Power. If you want to win shifter kart races, it's time to put Mega Power on your kart. Mega Power specializes in gearbox engines such as the TMKZ, Rock Shifter, and IAME Shifter. But with almost 3 decades of engine building experience, Bell develops winning motors for X30 and Mini Swift and everything in between. Increase your odds of winning in 2023 by calling Greg Bell today at 209-747-2613 to put Mega Power in your corner. All right, speaking of Mega Power, speaking of Greg Bell, they were trackside on the weekend, as were David, many other of the teams. All told, a packed paddock as it normally is. At the event, the numbers hitting around 117. But the bottom line, we kind of wrapped things up for the season, rounds 5 and 6 of what was a 6-round, 3-weekend championship.
Yeah, the last of the Winter Series to conclude for the 2023 season. So now we're really into the racing season. You couldn't tell it by the weather here in Michigan today, but it is the spring and summer season for sure. And again, kind of sad to wrap up another challenge year, but it was a great season, the 16th season for the program, and 2 days of amazing racing. Without a doubt, Sonoma Raceway always provides that. That's something we can always count on when we get there, no matter which direction, what layout you go to. Sonoma Raceway does provide that, and this year it certainly held up to that stature.
Andy Saisman and the whole FTK Promotions crew celebrating their 16th season of this Challenge of the Americas Championship, starting back in 2008. And David, you mentioned the temperatures. You couldn't tell by that it's summer or spring, at least by how it is where you are right now. Same thing up where I am in Ontario. It's I think 30 something degrees up here right now. But we were complaining throughout the weekend that although it was beautiful in Sonoma, kind of cool mornings, we got into the low 60s, mid 60s throughout the weekend. It was like 79 degrees back home for you, right? It was warmer back in Grand Rapids than it was in Sonoma.
80s. It was actually 80s. Into the 80s, where my wife went to the actual beach because it was so warm. Now, not necessarily sitting on the beach, but put their toes in the 30-degree water that is still, or maybe 40-degree water that's in the Lake Michigan. But yeah, that was the unique thing, and it was funny because as I was leaving, Detroit airport, they had to delay my flight because the cockpit and the plane itself was too hot. The sun was beating down on it. 80-degree weather, like noon, around noon, I think was when I was in Detroit, and they had to hook up air conditioners to cool down the plane, and they couldn't take off. So that was just unique. And it, looking back at Facebook memories, it happened before too, where Sonoma was colder than what it was in Michigan. So again, something about Sonoma, there's one thing you can always count on is wind. And that's what keeps the temperatures, I think, cool.
Yeah, it was a bit breezy throughout the weekend, more on Championship Sunday. The winds kind of picked up a little bit there. It was cooler in the morning, as I said. By the time we went live with qualifying, it was around 50 degrees both days. We did get up into the low 60s. I think 65 was the high on Saturday. All told, just really a beautiful day. We had blue skies. There was some cloud in the morning on Saturday, but that burned off pretty quickly. It was just a really comfortable weekend. Yeah, you put a jacket on when it was colder in the morning when we had the wind, but it wasn't super cold. And it wasn't super hot and humid either. So it was all told a really strong weekend in terms of weather. Numbers-wise, let's jump into this. We always do by the numbers. Really consistent across the board for the challenge this year. And I know that Andy Saisman would rather see them up at 140, 150, but the numbers right around between 120 and 117, essentially the entire program. So no real ups and downs. Sometimes we get we used to get what we called the Cal Speed bump because you come to Southern California and people would jump on board and we'd, get 20 or 30 more drivers. Sometimes you'll get some drivers from Rock Sonoma. We did get a bunch of drivers from Rock Sonoma. It's just that there were some of the drivers that ran Tucson and Phoenix didn't come to Sonoma. So the Rock Sonoma bump really just filled in the gaps of drivers who didn't show.
Yeah, you know what we're really missing, in all honesty, this year and maybe most of last year was the Canada bump. We're not getting the same amount of Canadians coming down and racing the challenge. So I think, we've had an influx of drivers from the U.S. and a few here and there from outside the U.S. But, we used to have well over double digit, Canadians racing at the challenge and competing and being involved in the championships, and former champions that are Canadians. So I think maybe that's why we're not at the 140 to 150 range, is we just don't have those drivers coming down across the border.
Yeah, Dave, you bring 20 Canadians down and you're there, right? You're right. Was there maybe 10 Canadians all total on the weekend?
I don't even think 10.
Yeah.
I think, you got 3 or 4 that were with Race Lab, and then a couple others scattered in the paddock, but less than 10. So we're not in the double digits in terms of Canadians.
I would say probably close to double digits, but maybe 10, because you had VME, right? They had 2 or 3 drivers for VME and Vince Mandarino. BBR was there as well. The Chokers were there, and then Race Lab was there. So, but maybe 10, not 30 like we've had in past years.
Right. And we don't have as many teams. We had a lot more teams coming down from Canada.
Yep.
You talk about Jim Gregory, Uncle Jimmy used to bring, a couple down with him, and, Overdrive would bring a number of drivers down.
The Dowlers,
that's, at least 2 to 3 right there.
Yep.
So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So just under 10. So not double digits this weekend.
There you go. Okay. Across the board, the numbers actually staying pretty solid. They had a high of
consistent.
11. Yeah, consistent. The 11 drivers was the high for Mini Rock. There was 9. The EKN category right there between 9 and 10. We ended up with 8 this particular weekend. Rock Shifter actually getting the bump. That was one of the bumps, David, I think we got here. Up to 18 drivers in the Rock Shifter category, which is pretty cool this weekend. That was a cool field. 18 is a solid field.
Yeah, again, Shifter in NorCal is very popular, so that's what we thought we were going to get. We'd get, got a number of walk-ups there. We just didn't get them in Rock Shifter Masters. We had, I think, over half the field were local, but they had already pre-registered, so we didn't get the walk-ups we wanted, as that stayed at 8, so it was just one above the minimum or the low number in Phoenix at 7, but didn't quite get up to the 12 that we had in Tucson. So that's a bit disappointing. Considering, again, Northern California has been a very predominant shifter-based region.
Indeed. And, of course, the high water mark for the challenge, the 100cc category, senior and junior, 35 drivers in senior 100cc, 32 in the junior 100cc. And the bottom line is, man, those big fields put on great racing, not only up front, but there was some awesome battles mid-pack as well.
Yeah, and a lot of drama throughout 2 days of racing for sure. And even in the Masters 100cc, the championship going down to the wire, even though we had 7 drivers, it was still that was the closest championship we had on the weekend.
Yeah, no doubt, 2 points. And we'll get to that later on when we roll in, folks. Our first commercial break has come upon us. When we get back, David and I will talk a little bit about the paddock pass, give you some information that happened off the track, just more stuff that's happening in the paddock itself. Stay tuned. More to come. This edition of the Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. It's a multi-time world champion, and it's a SuperKarts USA Super Nationals winner. It is SodiKart. And starting in 2023, the Sodi brand has found a new home here in the U.S. Sodi Racing USA is the new exclusive importer of the SodiKart chassis line under the karting distribution banner, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer SodiKart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from Mini to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has already begun establishing its dealer network, working with the Karting Collective on the West Coast, and recently signing PK Sport to serve as a dealer and the official race team on the East Coast. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about the SodiKart chassis line, or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. SodiKart, the world leader in the karting industry. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic and Esprit chassis, and now the new Red Speed and EOS brands, OTK quality is second to none. All 5 brands are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour and the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, and the Pro Kart Challenge, the United States Pro Kart Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. To learn more about a specific product line, you can find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, or EOS. Visit www.otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. History, success, family. Those are the 3 words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Welcome back to episode number 111 of our EKN Debrief, which wraps up our EKN Trackside Live coverage, the Race Report podcast. Today, of course, talking about the finale of this year's Challenge of the Americas that took place in Sonoma, California. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. Jumping right now into the Paddock Pass. David, brought to you by Acceleration Kart Racing. Acceleration Kart Racing has everything you need to go racing, from tires to helmets. They have a great website for you to order from, and kart racers ready to pick up the phone and answer your questions 6 days a week. With over 20 years of kart racing under their belts, Acceleration Kart Racing has the experience to help you succeed on the racetrack. You can rely on them to get the parts you need when you need them. Make Acceleration Kart Racing your go-to source for everything karting. Head to www.shopakr.com. All right, there we go, David. Let's dive into this thing. The Paddock Pass brought to you by Acceleration Kart Racing. Let's get you rolling first and foremost. It's on the minds. A lot of stuff was happening, but the OKN category, their 3rd event as part of the challenge.
Yeah, that was kind of the focus at the opener in Tucson, and it's been something we're continuing to watch, being the first real championship anywhere in the world that is running the OKN engine platform. And so again, it's in its baby steps. It's taking a little bit of time to get the manufacturers up to speed on getting product out there and into the hands of the competitors. So that's kind of still what we've been watching. TM was obviously the first one that we've seen to get up to speed quicker, and was the engine of choice at Tucson, Phoenix, and of course in Sonoma. We do now have the Vortex joining the Modena engine. So we do have 3 different engines in the United States right now. But everybody on the grid in Sonoma was on the TM. So we had Blake Nash test out the Vortex on Thursday, but obviously they said they need a little more time to find out what adjustments it needs and how to get it working at the optimal pace. So it wasn't quite the engine choice yet for Blake Nash or any of the other drivers who may have a Vortex already.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting storyline, right, David? As the season rolls on, there's a couple of other organizations like the Stars Championship that will be running this this OKN class. We'll see what kind of engines populate their grids. And of course, that, we get back around to the other side and start the challenge again in February of 2024. We'll see, obviously Vortex will have had time to be on the engine builder's bench, right? It'll have some dyno time. The guys will be working on it, right? So we'll see how it plays out.
Or later this summer at the Rock the Park.
That's true. We'll get to that one too. That'll be that's well, you know what? Let's just transition right into that right now.
Right into that.
Andy Sazen at the drivers' meeting was talking to everybody about the Rock the Park event. Of course, the park referring to the Pat's Acres Racing Complex, one of the legendary facilities in American karting. We were there last year with I just makes me laugh every time I talk about it, but it was the California Rock Championship that took place in Oregon last year. Again, that was feedback from everybody that runs in the challenge. Hey, we're going to run the California Rock Challenge Championship. Where do we want to go? We want to go up to Pat's Acres. Andy Sazeman ends up making it a one-off event. So the California Rock Championship last year was run at the park, but it was a great time up at Pat's Acres.
Yeah, let's go to 2021 when there was still a series and the Pat's Acres was one of the stops. So I can't remember the other two events that they went to, but Pat's Acres was one of the rounds. And then so go to 2022, they decide to cancel the other events in the California Rock Championship program because of numbers and support and the schedule being just too weighted. So it was like, let's just have a one-off event at Pat's Acres because it was such a success. So that was 2022. Now you're turning into 2023, and it's going to be the Rock the Park event, and it's going to be a special one-off event, no different than what you see with Rock Fest or other one-off races that you see throughout the season. But yeah, it's again just a chance for everybody to enjoy the summer months up in Oregon.
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of people with rock engines, man. And, you want to be able to go racing. Some of them run Rock Sonoma. Others, maybe not in the Sonoma area, want to run a big race. And again, as we said, we were there last year, David, at Pat's Acres. Of course, the Ager family rolls out the red carpet. The track itself, just legendary. It's a fantastic track, very raceable, and a ton of fun just to drive. But the whole area itself, the facility. So, bring your camper, right? Bring your tents if that's what you want to do. But, we camped overnight. We were grilling out at night. Andy and the guys talk about probably getting a live band for Saturday night, doing some barbecuing. Again, just having more of an event involved in this thing in the middle of summer at one of the best racetracks in the country.
Yeah, it's not going to be just another race. That's the one thing that they've kind of guaranteed. Following last year's race, it wasn't just another race. It was an event. And adding the off track stuff, that's going to be something that'll be a key factor to that, because again, they're going to make it going to be a fun filled weekend. There's no championships on the line. It's go up there, enjoy the racetrack, enjoy each other's company. And, like you said, camp out, have fun and enjoy a good time at Pat's Acres.
I like it. All right, continuing on with the Paddock Pass presented by Acceleration Kart Racing. One of the things that happened, of course, in the month of March, and it really let's just say through the season first, is the fact that Sodi Racing USA has been formed. Of course, Sodi Kart, one of the primary international manufacturers, not only for competition karts but for rental karts as well. But Sodi Racing USA being established to get this brand really re-cemented into American karting. On the East Coast, they're working with PK Sports. On the West Coast, the Karting Collective has been running the Sodi brand for the last number of years. But Sodi Racing USA bringing Harley Keeble over, a factory driver from England, running for the factory team for Sodi over in Europe, coming over and running the Scusa Winter Nationals with PK Sports, and did incredibly well. But then came out as well, David, to come and run here at the Challenge with Karting Collective. And that was fun to talk to the Karting Collective guys for a while. But yeah, Keeble was right there. There was a ton of Sodi karts on track throughout the weekend.
Yeah, it was a very, you could see that brand in nearly every category out there. So It's good to see that. But it's good to talk to Keeble. I wasn't at the Winter Nationals, so I wasn't able to get a chance to speak with him. So it was good to speak with him, get his viewpoint on racing here in the U.S. and learn a little bit about him. And he knows he has the single speed stuff. That's what he did as a junior, so he knows that stuff. But the 100cc stuff, that was something different. He hadn't quite been in something that slow in a while. So when I say slow compared to X30 or KZ, or
yeah.
any of those. So,
Yep.
it took him, obviously the Thursday to get accustomed back to driving that and slowing himself down and getting more comfortable with it. And certainly was a story all weekend long.
Yeah, we'll talk about it obviously when we get into the actual race report, but Harley Keeble was right in the middle of the scrap all weekend long, ended up winning one of the races. And we'll see whether or not we'll get Harley back for some more races. I'll drop an email over to...
It's confirmed. Yeah, he's already going to be at USPKS
all right,
for the Texas race here in 2 weeks. And I think maybe a couple more as well. All
right, there you go. Harley Keeble is going to have that Sodi cart on track at a number of different events. That'll be the third different organization that we'll see he running a Sodi cart. So again, lots to talk about throughout the season. And that wraps up this edition of the Paddock Pass, folks. Another quick break. When we get back, time to dive into the race report. We got 7 categories to roll through in this edition of the Debrief.
You want the best? You just got to roll with the best. Streeter Superstands. This is Jeff Wessel from StreeterSuperstands.com. You wouldn't put subpar parts on your racing cart, so why put that cherished ride of yours on anything but karting's #1 lifts and stands, Streeter Superstands. Streeter is the original and genuine manufacturer of the second-to-none Bigfoot rolling stands, stackers, uprights, and industry-leading Superlift. We also manufacture and sell the largest and always growing roster of trailer and shop accessories like tire, engine and jug racks, cabinets, spray can trays, bead breakers, and tons more to outfit any size trailer, team, and budget. Streeter Superstands has over 30 continuous years of experience. We're kart racers just like you and know that the Streeter name represents the absolute best in stands, lifts, and accessories for karting enthusiasts worldwide. Durability, affordability, unmatched quality, and customer service, that's what sets us apart from the rest. Check us out now at StreeterSuperstands.com. Roll with the best, StreeterSuperstands.com.
Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlison Performance Group. We race to win. It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network and the debrief of the Challenge of the Americas finale at Sonoma Raceway this past weekend, April 14th to 16th. Rob Howden and David Cole here. Let's dive into this now with the race report presented by DID Chain. Powered by technology, DID racing chains have a worldwide reputation for superior quality and reliability. A rich racing tradition where results speak for themselves, DID prides itself on engineering the most technologically advanced chains on the market to help you excel on and off the track. DID's SDH pin treatment creates an extremely hard chromium carbide layer on the pin surface that houses a soft inner core to absorb extreme shock loads. DID's 219 HTZ racing chain boasts this SDH pin technology, which leads to a longer chain life, as well as excellent energy transmission to the wheels. Available in the gorgeous gold, the 219 HTZ is the ultimate racing kart chain. Pick up a DID chain at your local dealer today, because when winning is the only thing that matters, go with DID. All right, Dave, we're going to start here with Rock Shifter, presented by Swede Tech. Here is the headline. Pickett sweeps main events. Gulick earns title.
Yeah, going into the weekend and seeing Hunter Pickett on the entry list, you kind of put him as the leader of the pack going into the weekend, and he was certainly that. Saturday was a clean sweep for him, setting fast time in qualifying, winning the pre-final and going wire to wire in the main event for the victory. Championship leader Jacob Gulick was second, put in a little pressure there at the end of the race, but just not quite able to make a move. So it's kind of good to see those two former teammates going head to head against one another on the weekend. Keon Tandon in the third spot, so good podium finish for him, with Brian Keck, the master driver, finishing fourth ahead of championship contender Macy Williams.
Yeah, one of the other drivers I was watching on the weekend, as well as Preston Lambert for Speed Sense Motorsports on the Xpree, he had a pretty good run. Again, hasn't had a lot of time in shifter cars, but was diving in there. He's been running with Sodi kart over in Europe. And there was one instance I just want to bring up, because he was coming across the front straightaway and making a pass to the inside, and it's a curving straightaway at Sonoma, got kind of a big sweeping right curve running in that direction, in the clockwise direction. He got pinched down. He was the full right sides in the grass, full pin coming through. I know that Derek Esquivel, the flagman, took evasive maneuvers, but he just didn't lift, got the pass done going into turn number one. I thought Preston did a great job. But again, up front, as you said, Hunter Pickett, again, this guy's been at the top of his game and a front runner in gearbox racing in the U.S. for many years here now. And home turf, Pickett's going to be hard to beat, right?
Yeah, he was hard to beat on Saturday, but Sunday was a different story.
Let's talk about that.
Didn't quite come out of the gate quick like he did on Saturday, as Keon Tandon was able to set fast time and qualifying, got to enjoy that interview with Sean Buer that he wanted to do so much on the weekend, and then held it up through the pre-final. He had Gulick and Pickett right there on his bumper throughout the race, but was able to score the win. Main event, however, it was a whole shot victory by Hunter Pickett, as he was able to get by Tandon. I'm not sure if he started second or third. Do you recall?
Second, I think second.
So from the outside of the front row,
rolled the outside of one, right?
Yep. And that's, shifters was the only category we saw that happen. We'll get into that later. But yeah, so Pickett grabbed the whole shot and managed to pace Tandon throughout the race. Gulick was right there in third, but unfortunately retired halfway through the race with a flat left rear tire. So took him out of the running for the main event. But up front, it was Pickett winning over Tandon. Yeah,
and Michael Avancino coming home in the third spot. He was kind of right there in the top 5, top 7 throughout the entire weekend, running the Croc promotion, and got up. What's that?
Sorry, I was saying, Sunday was a great performance by him.
No, he's
super speed.
Yeah, stepped up big time and literally pulled away. It's while Pickett and Tandon were kind of racing up front, Avancino was not that far back in third spot. He left Keck behind him, Williams, Lambert, everybody behind him. It would have been a third or fourth. Him would have been potentially battling with Gulick, other than the issue, as you said. But man, I thought it was a real breakthrough run for Avancino to be able to go P3. Very impressive drive.
Yeah, again, Sunday performer possibly by him, but it was a good run. Figured everything out for Sunday and was right there throughout the day.
All told, one of the drivers that actually did lock things down on Saturday in terms of the championship. We know that coming into a weekend like that, the championship weekend here in the challenge with one drop, if you're getting enough points by Saturday, you can drop Sunday. So Gulick locked things in. He was, of course, a winner on the season. Pickett got a couple of wins. Macy Williams got a victory as well, as we know, at Tucson. She ends up second, David, in the points, 83 back. She continued to push the entire season long, came up just short there at 83 points. And then P3, Ethan Boer, although didn't have a great, got taken out, I think, in the Sunday main event, but really a pretty impressive debut in the challenge for Ethan Boer for GFC. That young driver finishing third overall.
Yeah, 2 podium finishes at Phoenix. Had 2 top 5s as well in Tucson. As you said, Sunday in Sonoma didn't go his way. I think he had a broken shifter lever that took him out and put him in the back of the grid for the main event. So again, tough way to end the series, but a good solid 3rd place in the championship.
Another category that got locked down on Saturday was Rock Shifter Master, brought to you by Ron White Racing. Here is the headline. Vitola wins to clinch title. Barber dominates Sunday action.
Yeah, we thought Vitola wasn't going to have a challenge throughout the weekend, but Tim Barber, making his challenge debut, said otherwise. The Sody Kart driver laid down a solid lap in qualifying, won the pre-final, but just came up short in the main event. Vitola was able to grab the whole shot and lead the entire 20-lap distance, with Barber right there on his bumper, just unable to make any type of move, as Vitola was able to clinch his 4th victory on the season, which essentially locked up the championship for him.
Yeah, Vivek Tandon finishing in the 3rd spot. Of course, the father of Keon Tandon, who ran the pro category. Vivek on the GFC, running in the Masters class. He's been a shifter car driver for probably a decade and a half, probably running in Southern California. So good to see him back out there as well, right? Yeah. P3.
Yeah, I think he was there at the.
Keep going.
Sorry.
Keep going.
Yep, the internet's locking up.
Okay.
I would say, I think we saw him back in when the Pro Tour started racing Master.
Exactly. Bill Piles ended up P4 in the CRG, and Samuel Gluss rounded out the top 5. Another one of the Sody Kart drivers from the Karting Collective. They had a number of drivers in this Master shifter class. I want to say 3 or 4, including Barber. Tim Barber obviously kind of setting the pace. I'm sure they were pouring over his data because, David, he was just bad fast all weekend long. Qualified on pole, pre-final win, and was untouchable as well in the final, and then getting the victory there as well. Barber just really dominated things on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, Vitola just didn't quite have the pace that Barber did, and it was certainly kind of a walkaway. Even in the main event, Tandon made an attempt on Vitola, got ahead of him early on in the race. I didn't see the move, but you have here made a strong move on Vitola in turn 6. So
Yeah, opening lap, right? The opening lap run came out of 5, got a better run, and went at him immediately on colder tires, right? Got down to the inside, which is the turn 6 left-hander that leads over to the Mamo S's and the back over to turn number 9. Just made a good move to the inside. Vitola settled in and eventually got back by, but it was good to see Tandon get aggressive, right? Like, I got to get in front of this guy. He's quick. So he made a push hard and got it on the opening lap, but Vitola eventually made his way back up to 2nd.
Yeah, so Vitola 2nd, Tandon in 3rd, Andrew Waite on the Sody Kart in the 4th spot, so was able to work out the gremlins he had on Saturday to finish in the top 5 with Samuel Gluss in the 5th spot. Yeah,
Gluss and Waite battled over the first half of the 20-lap main event, then Waite was able to pull away at the end there to get that 4th position, so good job for Andrew Waite. Championship-wise, one driver we, of course, didn't talk about because he was not trackside, is that's Nick George, who was there for the first 4 rounds, but not there for rounds 5 and 6. That's what kind of opened the door for Vitola to not get challenged at all. Vitola wins the title by 190 points, and Bill Piles, who was at all 6 rounds, finishing in 4th on Saturday in round number 5, ends up P3 overall. Good job for the veteran driver, one of the nicest guys you'll find in the paddock.
Yeah, very nice guy. Maybe, and you see him road racing as well too. So challenge during the winter and road racing in the summer.
How long has Bill? Bill's been probably racing for at least 30 years.
It's got to be more than that.
I didn't want to go crazy and say insult him.
I recall him posting photos from the 80s, so it's got to be. I'm 44, so it's got to be around that that year. Yes.
And again, like I said, Bill's a guy that does road racing, sprint races as well. So it's absolutely loving it, having fun with it. What he's doing, sprint racing right now in the CRG, was under the Ron White Racing tent this past weekend. This is a guy that keeps himself in tip-top shape to make sure he's able to keep running shifter carts. So all the kudos to Bill Piles for being there in the end. Awesome job. All right, then let's go into a commercial break right now, and we'll come back. Got to keep going with this race report. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back after these quick messages.
Are you ready to go from carts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from carts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
The new face of competitive karting in the Pacific Northwest region is RaceLab. The full-service karting operation is located at the state-of-the-art Kartplex facility in Oliver, British Columbia, Canada, providing everything you need to hit the track or put yourself in a successful driver development program. RaceLab is the official North American distributor for the TB Kart chassis brand, providing the full range of models from kid kart to shifter kart. Villeneuve Racing Karts is their flagship product, available only through RaceLab. The brand carries the name of Formula One champion and Indianapolis 500 winner Jacques Villeneuve, with each model produced by TB Kart. Kartplex, the home of RaceLab, is situated on the grounds of the Area 27 Motorsports Park. From full arrive and drive TB Kart rentals to leagues and competition karting, the facility provides a new home to developing the future stars of motorsports, all beginning at Kartplex with RaceLab. Follow RaceLab on social media on Facebook and Instagram, or load up their website at www.theracelab.ca to learn more about TB Kart and Villeneuve Racing Karts. RaceLab. Race with us, win with us. Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by four-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting kart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorykarts.com. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode number 111 here. We're getting things set to go as we kind of diving into the middle of our race report of the Challenge of the Americas finale at Sonoma. David, DID Chain, the sponsor of the race report. Let's jump into the OK Engines class. We talked about it a bit earlier. They had a bit of a different approach to the weekend. P1 Engines, the sponsor. It wasn't a two event weekend. It was a one event, more of a CIK FIA with qualifying, heat races, pre-main and main. Here's the headline. Nash continues domination for $500 payday.
Blake Nash. That's all we need to say.
Done. Move on.
Done. Move on. Yeah, led every session. I think it was maybe heat 2 that he did get passed by Dustin Salaveria. So it wasn't a complete domination. So he did relinquish the top spot for a couple of laps. But at the end of every session, so qualifying all 3 heat races, pre-final and final, it was Blake Nash at the top of the order. The main event was a 7-second margin of victory, as basically second and behind were all very similar in pace. You had Dustin Salaveria, you Dane Idleston, Anthony Freeze, Flavio Aquini. He was really picked up the pace from Tucson and Phoenix. So certainly found a little bit more for the Sonoma weekend, but all of them in the hunt, along with Derek Wang and Billy Cleveland trailing right there, both making their OKN debuts as well. So it was really interesting to kind of watch everything behind Blake Nash on the weekend. Yeah,
I think the key, obviously, to everybody kind of settled in through the heat races. Salaveria was kind of the second guy there. He started second as well on the grid for the pre-final. Anthony Freeze was right there, but Salaveria and Freeze did not make it to the end of the pre-final. So they ended up, remember, they started on the back. They were on row number 4.
And Salaveria had a disqualification for having the wrong tires. So that was why he was in the back of the main event grid.
Yeah. So and again, when they started rolling, From the outside of the front row, Dane Idelson started in second. He jumped into that position quickly. Aquini then kind of attacked quickly and was able to get by. And he goes into second. Aquini had a really good run on the ITEL course. Fantastic for that young driver. I think just 14 years of age, 14 or 15 for Aquini. I was talking to his dad. He had a great run to second spot. For Salaveria, he and Freeze did not die. Well, obviously, you're trying to get by two of the best Masters drivers we've had in American karting, in Derek Wang and Billy Cleveland. They were not making it easy. So it took a while for Salaveria to actually even get his way up into fourth. And then he tried to chase down Idelson and just couldn't find a way by.
Yeah, just again, they're still learning how to pass with the OKN platform because, again, there's no clutch to be able to get you out of the hole. So passing, especially in a lot of the 180 corners that they do have here, a little bit difficult because you'd like to park it. But if you park it, you're going to stall the engine. So guys are learning that's one of the things that guys are still learning how to pass. That's something we saw throughout the weekend. We did see contact that during the heat races that kind of shook up the order, behind Salaveria as well. So, it just wasn't quite, Salaveria wasn't quite able to make the passes where he could, and had to settle for that fourth spot behind Aquini and Idelson. Kyriakis Soukas was in the mix throughout the weekend. He was one of the fast drivers on Friday in Fast Friday. So we thought we were going to see him be able to battle with Blake Nash, but unfortunately just couldn't find the pace throughout the rest of the weekend, and then had an exhaust actually break. The silencer broke off from the actual exhaust itself. So he had to record a DNF in the main event.
Was he not running? I think he was running third at that point, right? Too.
He was in the top five for sure.
He
was battling with Aquini and Idelson and Salaveria for sure.
All right, let's move on to the Mini Rock class brought to you by Alex Keys Racing. Here is the headline. Wagner and Calderon bring total to 5 different winners on the season.
Yeah, even though the numbers aren't large, we still had a number of different winners in the Mini Rock category throughout the year. So to have 5 different winners in 6 rounds of racing, that's a pretty good asterisk and good bullet point to carry on for the category moving into next year. Again, just kids graduating and waiting for the next crop of young drivers to come up into the Mini Rock division. Home track, that's something we always talk about at Sonoma. Mateo Calderon knows the Sonoma Raceway. That's where he's got his start. And was certainly the driver to beat throughout the weekend, set up fast time in qualifying and won the pre-final. But it was a 3-driver fight up front between him, championship leader Gabriel Balog, and Brandon Wagner. A lot of swapping for the lead early on, and everything kind of settled into the final lap. Balog was leading. They had down to tic-tac-toe, a little bit of contact through the tick and the tack, sent Balog wide, slowed Wagner's pace down. So that allowed Calderon to slide into the second spot as Balog rejoined the racetrack a little bit further than he should have, according to officials.
He essentially missed turn 4. Right?
Essentially missed turn 4.
Yeah. Kind of cut the inside of 4.
And so Balog was leading as they rejoined the racetrack ahead of Calderon. A lot of defensive moves. And then as they got onto the front straightaway there, a little bit of contact between he and Calderon. That slowed Calderon's pace. Balog was actually able to cross the line first. Wagner slid ahead into the second spot ahead of Calderon, but officials penalized Balog for cutting the racetrack.
Cutting the track, yeah.
Thus had the victory taken away, and that moved Braden Wagner up to the top spot of the podium.
Yeah, and obviously, listen, when we all get said and done, huge for Braden Wagner on the GFC because this tightened the championship significantly. Balog came in with the lead in the championship, so this really tightened things up with that win. So again, it's Wagner, Calderon, and the penalty to Balog actually dropped him all the way down into 5th because Julian Sanchez in the GFC and Luca Popescu in the Nash Motorsports EOS were right there as well. So if Sanchez ends up going up to 3rd, Popescu in 4th. Balog goes all the way back to 5th. So again, win for Wagner, fifth for Balog, tightens things up going into the the championship Sunday race. Again, though, David, in qualifying, Mateo Calderon getting it done. He goes P1.
Yeah, and before I get into Sunday, just to kind of preference how the season has gone, I think this was like almost the 5th different main event that was decided off the racetrack because
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, like Wagner, I think had a victory in Phoenix, but had a starting infraction. So he lost that one. Blog got that victory. I want to say there was another one in Tucson as well, too. I think Popescu won a race somehow through a penalty. So again, there was just, again, it's a young division. They're learning as they go out there. Sometimes there's mistakes and, it might cost you a victory. So that's something that we've kind of seen throughout the season in this category. So won't be the first, won't be the last, right?
As I said, Calderon comes out of the gate strong on Championship Sunday, but David, the driver really kind of stepped up to the forefront on Sunday, other than the Calderon, Wagner, Balog, Sanchez, we expect to be quick up there, was Matt Guidera on the Bennett. He ends up winning the pre-final, and then he and Calderon locked up in the main event to try to get away.
Yeah, he actually had fast lap of the main event on Saturday, was right there in the mix, but electrical issue dropped his pace, and eventually he retired due to that mechanical issue. So he certainly had the pace to challenge all weekend long. Saturday just didn't go his way, but Sunday looking to be that way as he and Calderon kind of broke away. And then you had Wagner just kind of trailing both of those drivers, knowing he had to finish ahead of Balog. That was kind of the story going into the main event. If he finished ahead of Balog, he had the championship. Balog for somehow had a bad start and lost a lot of ground and just didn't quite have the pace to keep up with the top three.
You're right. He went way back and had to come through. You're right.
Yeah. So up front, it was, Guidera and Calderon basically fighting for the victory. They kind of went back and forth with the lead, but a strong last lap by Calderon allowed him to get a little bit of space. And then Wagner actually challenged Guidera for the second spot. So that gave Calderon a little bit more breathing room, and he was able to sail to the start finish line to take the checkered flag first.
Yeah, indeed. So it was Calderon, Guidera, and Wagner. Luca got me saying it wrong now.
Yeah, I know.
Popescu. He was actually 4th on track, but got a 2-spot penalty that brought Julian Sanchez up into 4th. Gabriel Balog, who, as I said, was back and I think it was 7 seconds back at one point. He needed them to battle a lot more up front to be able to catch up like he did. He ends up P5. And David, in the end, that was enough. Balog coming in with a couple of top 5 finishes. Wagner goes P1 and P3. And in the end, able to come away with a championship for Braden Wagner by 20 points over Gabriel Balog. Popescu ended up P3, 47 points back.
Yeah, it's a tough way to end for Balog because he had such a great weekend in Tucson and Phoenix, and somehow, again, championships, you got to be consistent throughout. And unfortunately, just again, you look at his fast lap, he was literally 7/10 slower than Calderon and Guidera. So that something just wasn't right. And unfortunately, it just happened at the wrong time for him. But it's something to learn from. Take the hit and keep going because certainly had a great couple of months there in Tucson and Phoenix.
Yeah, most definitely a breakthrough start to the season for Gabriel Balog for sure. Put your head down, keep digging, and you'll get more. All right, folks, quick break here. When we get back, we'll wrap up the race report presented by DIG Chain. We're going to go 100cc. We'll talk senior, junior, and master. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2023 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program and the brand new Tatis JR23. As the first step of the newly rebranded USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires, the USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 16-race schedule to train racers for the move into the USF 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. The USF Juniors champion will win a scholarship worth over $248,000, and the total prize fund will exceed $330,000. The series will also debut the new Tatis JR23 race car in 2023, which is a development version of the USF 22 used in USF 2000. It's the ideal entry point for career-minded karters moving on to the car racing ladder. Safety is always front and center in the mind of the series promoters, and the USF Juniors car features a halo, and the races are supported by members of the AMR IndyCar safety team. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit www.usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media.
Wins in the sport's biggest races and championships in national and regional series all over the country, they're all on Nitro Kart's growing resume. Nitro Kart continues to make its statement as the best, fastest, and winningest cadet chassis on the American market. In 2021, Nitro Kart won the 3 biggest crowns in America in the Microswift division, with Mateo Rosu in the SCUSA Pro Tour and both the Super Nationals and the USPKS titles with Keelan Harvick. At the Super Nats alone, 3 of the top 5 drivers on the podium got there on a Nitro Kart. The results are clear. If you want to win in cadet, get a Nitro Kart and join our team. At Nitro Kart, we're all about driver development. Nick Tucker and the Nitro Crew's racing resumes are extensive, and their passion for helping our kids learn is unparalleled. Racing is about consistent learning, and that's what we're all about here at Nitro Kart. Never wanting to quit, we've continued to extend the reach of our driver development program. In addition to expanding into the junior and senior karting categories, we've also launched Nitro Motorsports, which will field 2 cars this season in the Trans Am by Pirelli series, one being piloted by karting champion Brent Cruz. Not only can we develop your young driver, but we can also provide the platform if a move to cars is in your plan. And our second seat is available. If you're serious about your driver's career, contact us today.
In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Back at it here with episode number 111 of our EKN Debrief, our race report podcast that wraps things up for the EKN Trackside Live coverage of the championship finale of the Challenge of the Americas at Sonoma Raceway this past weekend, April 14th to 16th. We'll wrap up the race report here presented by DID Chain with the senior 100cc class presented by Forward Direction Motorsports. Here's your headline. Keeble and Vasquez claim series firsts.
Yeah, again, we're keeping with the drivers getting their first victories at the challenge. That certainly was a big story throughout the year and was again in Sonoma. We thought we were going to have a different winner with a debut senior driver with Anthony White making his senior debut on the weekend aboard the CRG out the back of the pickup with him and his dad, Joe White. Set fast time in Saturday qualifying. Amazing run for him. Unfortunately, the youngster got a little roughed up in the pre-final, kind of got shuffled around, and especially by Harley Keeble as he was able to kind of knife his way up to the front and to be able to score that pre-final victory. But it was Keeble who got roughed up early in the main event. They all saw him and attacked quickly, and he actually fell back to 10th. And then from there, it was just a number of different drivers trying to assert themselves as a leader. You had Steven Eisert, Jesus Vasquez, Chase Han, and a number of others just fighting up front. So that allowed Keeble to kind of work his way back up through the field and eventually got up to the leaders. And then from there, it was kind of just a great battle for the lead, including Keeble. Matt or Rob, I'm not quite sure exactly how the race kind of unfolded at the end there.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, again, like you said, the guys up front kind of settled in and battled, but with them by themselves, they may have been able to pull away. But there was so much aggressive racing, guys diving into the inside of all these corners. Turn 6, number 1, obviously 1, but 6, 9, and they just kept going side by side coming out of the corners. And literally, Keeble, who was a ton of weight, was way back, He just kind of slowly worked his way forward, picked everybody off. And I want to say the final move was coming out of turn number 10. It got stacked up a little bit. He was able to get moved to the inside, and turn 11, which is the kink on the back straightaway, he was able to kind of get to the inside there and was able to wrap things up. And from there was able to pull away, because once he got in the lead, the battling didn't stop. They kept fighting back and forth for second, third, and fourth. That's why it ended up being a decent victory, I think.
Yeah. So looking at the penalties, there was a lot of penalties out there. So Keeble did cross the line first ahead of Isert. But we were gonna do the scale video, but I saw them handing out penalties. Now I recall this. So Keeble got a 3-second penalty for passing under yellow, but Isert also received I believe let me get his number again. Hold on, where do we go? 939, a pushback bumper penalty, if I recall. Or no, 2 wheels out that's what it was. It was a wild start.
There's a lot of guys around. That's right.
Yes, he had 2 wheels out of the line, so he got a 2-position penalty. So it put Keeble back into the top spot, dropped Isert to the 3rd position. Liam Lech then was able to slot up into the 2nd spot, as he was right there in that second group behind Keeble and Isert.
David, I also think Lech might have been the only guy within the tram lines at the start. Remember?
Probably, because hold on, let me look at the lap chart. Because I didn't write this part, so I couldn't remember exactly how it went. Because you said who was up there. Yeah, Lech finished 3rd on the racetrack, but didn't you say Vasquez? Yeah, he was. Oh, he got shuffled back. That's right. He went off track when they were battling at one time. So that was it. So that's why he wasn't into the top 5. But a number of drivers, I think they had 15 different penalties, including 6-7 drivers with wheels out at the start.
Yep.
And then you got 6 drivers with full pushback bumpers, and you got cutting track and contact and passing under yellow. So a full slate of penalties in this main event.
I know that when it happened, like you said, you were getting ready to run out and do the winner interview. And you're like, no, I'm not going to bother, because I have no idea who's eventually going to win this, because there was a huge stack of penalties, especially, which I thought we all thought was kind of so odd. Literally, they came up to the green, and hardly anybody in the front of the pack was in their tram lines. They were all like 2 wheels out in the middle of the track. It was really weird why all of a sudden they forgot about that coming to the green flag. I thought that was
yeah. I think Keeble didn't keep a consistent pace. That might have jumbled up the field a little bit. So I'm not sure if that was part of the issue or not. Kind of caught people off guard. Again, when somebody new is on the pole position, you kind of got to go what he's going to do, and typically everybody follows the same procedure. Well, maybe he did his own little playing a chess game there for a little bit.
Coming back in on Sunday, Chase Hand, who had qualified on the outside of the front row alongside Anthony White on Saturday, was the guy that was P1 in the Sunday qualifying session. He held on to the position, David, to win the pre-finals. Well started on the pole there. So it was Hand on the inside, Stephen Isert on the outside. But as things kind of shook out, Jesus Vasquez really kind of stepped things up. You mentioned him going off a bit in the main event on Saturday, but he was really, the driver was attacking. He was really aggressive, like not aggressive at a negative point, like a positively aggressive, really got after it in the main event on Sunday.
Yeah, wanted to get to the front. That's exactly what, was looking to get himself into the lead, and that's exactly what he did. It was Isert and Hand that were kind of jostling position early through the first half, but then Vasquez finally put himself into the lead by lap 12, and basically from there was able to kind of fend off any type of challenge against him there. They were also still kind of battling behind him for that second spot. So it kind of some lap it helped, and then they would catch back up and they would start fighting for second again. So a little bit of that. And then he was also able to fend off any type of challenges. So all in all, a good second half in the main event for Jesus Vasquez, as he was able to drive off to his first series victory.
Yeah, one of the drivers who put on a show coming from the back too was Harley Keeble. Did we figure out it was an engine issue, I think, in the pre-final, Dave?
Yeah, it was a seized engine, so had to replace, and it happened right on the first lap of the pre-final. So
in turn 6, yeah,
it started from all the way back in 31st.
Wow, and then just scrapped his way forward. So good for him to work his way back up there, up to where did he end up finishing? Actually,
yeah, was in the fight,
so.
got into the top 5, but then got shuffled back at the end, so ended up finishing in the 6th spot.
Okay, there you go. Kira Kosukas was in the fight there as well, running for Alex Keys Racing on the Burrell Art. We talked about Steven Eisert coming home third. Hand was in the fight too. It was aggressive racing for sure. He ended up in the fourth spot. And to be honest, Timothy Carroll, who ends up finishing in fifth, I want to say he was back in like sixth or seventh, probably seventh, I think, at the end. The last lap was wild. And the way it kind of played out, because they were stacking up in turn number 9. They came back around at turn number 10. We had guys dive into the inside, outside through turn number 10 as well. And actually, Timothy Carroll, who was in the championship contention coming into the end of the weekend, didn't have the best weekend in terms of what he got on Saturday. But David, he ends up wrapping up the top 5.
Yeah, able to get ahead of Keeble there at the checkered flag. Yep. And unlike Saturday's main event, Sunday's main event, no penalties.
All right, then.
And it boggles my mind how we can do. You would think Sunday would be that race that would have tons of penalties and crashes.
Well, because I always say that the intensity ramps up, right? On
it does. There's nothing else to do. You go all out, right?
Let's do it. Yeah. All right. Liam Lutch ends up winning the championship. He had a really good hold of it coming in as well, because the driver who was second in points, Josh Campbell, not there on the weekend. Steven Eisert with a strong weekend, as we know, third. Both days on the podium, both days ends up closing up to 54 points back, but Lech with another championship for GFC. And Chase Hand, third place, 93 points back, and he didn't run Tucson. He wasn't up the opening round.
Yeah, that's the really interesting part about it, because typically you got a driver who only does 4 of the rounds. They're not going to end up anywhere in the championship, but for somehow, some way, obviously you had a victory and I think another podium in Tucson as well. So, and then you had 2 more top 5s. Like that's a consistent, couple of, 4 rounds of racing. Yeah. So that's what essentially got him into the third spot, because everybody else was just kind of all over the place in terms of results. And Lech, let's say this, at one time in the main event, he did not have the championship lead.
Oh, very, very true. Yeah.
It was he got shuffled back at the start and was outside the top 20 and needed to finish inside the top 20 to secure a championship. So at the opening lap, it was Steven Eisert's leading the provisional championship. Oh, no, he got back into the top 20. So
he got there, exactly right.
At one point, there was a little bit of worry from the Lech camp.
Yeah, exactly that. All right, so let's move in and wrap things up here for the race report. We'll go 100cc Junior, brought to you by Nash Motorsports. Here's the headline. First victories for Altman and Korn as championship goes down to the wire.
It certainly did. And again, first victory seems to be the theme right now. And Spencer Smith, trying to be one of those drivers to get that, was a surprise in qualifying, as he was able to land the fast time in qualifying. Did not hold the top spot. However, though, through the pre-final, it was Max Altman moving into the top spot. And then from there, Altman was pretty much challenged by Gonzalez throughout the main event early, but he was then drifted back and fell back to, I believe, the 5th spot by the time the checkered flag came out. But out front, Altman was able to kind of essentially lead the most of the way and drive to a 1.8 second victory over Nick Eggleston, the championship contender coming into the weekend with 3 victories, but trailing Gonzalez in the championship. Yana Kapoor, she had a great drive on Saturday, able to drive her way up into the 3rd spot for her first series podium finish, ahead of Gage Korn in the 4th spot, and then Nikos Sarfati in the 5th spot because of a penalty to Gonzalez for cutting the racetrack. So that dropped him from the 5th spot, moving him down to 9th, so costing him some valuable championship points there.
Yeah, another good shout out for Yana Kapoor for Leading Edge Motorsports on that Tony kart. She was actually the fastest driver in the pre-final as well. Turned fast lap there, and then worked her way forward. Was showing great racecraft, and so for her to be able on the podium here at the challenge, I think that's going to be awesome for her when she heads back to club racing. Great job for Yana there. And speaking of young women doing great on the weekend, so Yana has a fantastic run. She's fastest in the pre-final. She gets on the podium in the main event on Saturday, and then Peyton Westcott, the young lady for Nash Motorsports, who works with Matt Johnson, ends up qualifying on pole on Sunday.
Yeah, it was a great lap by her. Used the draft wisely, had a big group ahead of her and timed it out just perfectly. So she became the 5th different top qualifier on the year. So we had 5 different drivers on the season earn top qualifier status. The only driver to double that up, Nick Eggleston, who was looking to get some more championship points for himself and did so by winning the pre-final. So that certainly helped gain more points in his favor ahead of Alexander Gonzalez for the championship run. Eggleston with the pole position for the main event. He led the opening 7 laps, but then it was chaos after that.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about it.
You want me to do it?
Yep. Go ahead. You chimed in.
All right. Yeah. Well, I probably should have backed out of that. I'll let you do it.
Hey, sounds like a pass you were trying to make, Rob.
Yeah, indeed, there was contact over. So Eggleston bobbles a bit coming through tic-tac-toe. Everything gets kind of crazy coming into turn number 6, which is the left-hander. Again, we talked about the contact there already. Now, the 2 drivers of the championship fight are Eggleston and Gonzalez. Well, they come into turn number 6, and from my view where I was watching, Gonzalez was making a move to get by Westcott, right, for whatever position it was at that point. But then Gonzalez continued to go, got up on the curb on the inside, and literally, from what I saw, the car just got, of course, there's no way he's making the corner for how close he was, gets into the side of Eggleston. Eggleston 4 wheels off on the outside and eventually into the tires on the outside of the corner. He's, of course, can't believe what just happened. The championship's gone. Gonzalez rolls up the road. Your thoughts on that, David? Pretty much the same, or do you have a different view of it?
Yeah, it was, Gonzalez, who had a great first couple of laps, started 16th.
Yeah.
Got a great jump. I think he passed like 8 carts going into tic-tac-toe at one time. So it was a great, first 7 laps by Gonzalez. And yeah, just, went for more than I think he could get. And, Eggleston was pretty much already going to the apex and was almost there. Gonzalez jumped the curb to try to avoid him. Contact was made. They both pushed off to the exit, and Eggleston hit the tires that were right there, and unfortunately ended his race. Gonzalez was able to power through and keep going, but it was again not an aggressive move. It was just a bold pass that just did not play out, and unfortunately was a lot of contact was made.
Yeah, I think if Gonzalez had just stopped where he was, because the pass on Westcott was what he was trying for. I think he saw the opening and was like, well, maybe I can get another one. I think had he just checked up and got the Westcott pass done, he probably would have been okay. But as soon as that contact happened, the race control, the race directors were right there. It's literally right when you come back across start finish line. So, I know Mark Michione stands essentially right there. So all eyes were on it. Let's put it that way. And in the end, let's keep rolling, because Christian Cameron was actually the driver out of the gate who went to the lead early. Gage Korn was in there as well. Cameron was having a really good run. But in the end, things got kind of exciting at the end as Gonzalez kept pushing hard to move forward.
Yeah, Gonzalez kept pushing, was into the 3rd spot, trying to catch back up to the top 2. As you said, Cameron was leading over Korn. And then last lap, everything kind of went crazy again. Gonzalez had closed up to Cameron and Korn as they were, going back and forth over the corner, last few corners. I want to say there was contact. I think Gonzalez made a move for the lead, or Korn somehow.
I think Korn made the move to the apex of 10, right?
Yeah.
By Cameron, I think, on the final lap.
Yeah, and then so that allowed, I think, I don't know if there was contact made or somebody went off. I think Cameron went off track and spun around.
4 wheels off, yeah.
So Korn, I think, was in the lead, but Gonzalez had the momentum and got alongside him going into the kink, and then came through the last corner in the lead, and then came to the checkered flag and was the provisional winner at the checkered flag.
Indeed. So he does get the provisional win, but with the contact that happened with he and Eggleston, it was a 10-second penalty, dropped him down to 7th in points in the final results. Eggleston, of course, out with at the tail of the grid. So essentially that's his drop. How's it all play out in the championship, Dave? Let's go to the results first.
Again, with that penalty and a number of other different penalties. Well, with that first penalty on Gonzalez, that moved Korn up into the top spot of the podium, and it kind of shuffled things out because Gonzalez actually would have fallen down to 9th, so he would have lost a lot more points. But other penalties moved him up to the 7th spot because of the way the penalties are assessed. Yep. So it put Korn on top of the podium. It moved Nico Serfati into the 2nd spot for his first podium in the category.
He did a great job all weekend. Yeah.
Keegan Kaminsky into the 3rd position. He had a great drive from behind because I think he wrecked in the opening lap of the pre-finals. So he had to drive basically through the entire field all day long. Hudson Sharp made it 3 GFCs in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then Turner Brown, another junior rookie, finishing in the top 5.
And the championship, when it came down to it, with all the penalties that kind of shook down, Eggleston ends up winning the title by just 5 points over Gonzalez. A big, obviously, win for Korn at the end with all the penalties getting laid down. He ends up jumping up to P3, 70 points packed. But the bottom line, all told, a very close championship battle. And even with the contact, and of course, the penalty, Eggleston narrowly winning the championship by 5 points.
Yeah, again, and then you look at the cut track that Gonzalez had on Saturday. That cost him a lot of points there as well, too. So that, even the Sunday stuff wouldn't have even mattered, had he not cut the track on Saturday. So, but again, a lot of other things happened throughout the year as well. There were qualifying points up for grabs. Gonzalez only had one top qualifier, but Nick Eggleston had two. So there's your 5 points right there. Again, that's the great thing about this, the way this championship format is, you just never know what is going to cost you a championship. It could be the last lap of the race on round 6, or it could be the first lap of round 2 or round 1.
To segue to Masters 100cc qualifying, it could end up being just 1 pound. Let's go to Masters 100cc presented by Ruthless Cardi. Here's your headline. Man wins the battle, but Kunchez wins the war.
It was indeed. It wasn't really a war. It was more of a boxing match between these two.
Well, I mean, the war is being the
I get it. I know.
The 6 rounds, 3 weekends.
I like it. This could have been a 6-round heavyweight fight, though. It could be that too.
I guess, because
essentially, Kunchez won the opening 3 rounds on the year, and then Mann won the final 3 rounds on the year. Because again, Chris Mann was able to put the pressure on Kunchez. But it didn't look that way in qualifying and the pre-final on Saturday. Kunchez was quicker than Mann both in both of those sessions.
No. Remember that this is where it happens. Remember, Mann was P1 in qualifying, wasn't it? Yeah. Remember, Mann was P1 in qualifying.
Oh, that's right. On Saturday. I thought it was Sunday. Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
So Ian Kunchez ends up getting the
wasn't
pole
in my
on
notes,
Saturday,
Rob.
But Chris Mann, I figured you would remember that one. Chris Mann, even though he ate 2 hamburgers on Friday night, smash burgers on Friday night, ends up coming up 1 pound light in Saturday qualifying. So there's 5 points. Kunchez qualified second. Mm-hmm. So Mann loses the 5 points. Kunchez takes the 5 points that Mann dropped on the table. Mm-hmm. A 10-point swing overall. Ian Kunchez ends up on pole. Mann starts at the back of the field. Kunchez goes on to win the pre-final. Go from there.
Yeah, because Mann drove up through the field, but just wasn't able to get around Kunchez for the pre-final win. So again, that was a 1 point difference there.
That's it. Yeah.
That again, everything matters. So, so that was the interesting part. But I'm trying to remember the main event. So I think
Mann was able to get by Kunchez finally and pulled away.
Yeah, it wasn't right at the start. I think Kunchez was able. I think the better start was on.
No, I think Mann went
maybe
around.
This was the one.
I think Mann went around the outside of him on turn 1. Yeah, they jumped
too
around
many
the
races.
outside.
We got to have the 1 finals.
Dude, I 100% agree. So yeah, Mann took the lead from the very get go and then pulled away. Ian Kunchez was because here's the other thing too.
Okay, you wrote this. I didn't. That's why I can't remember because I didn't write it. So yes, Mann had the great run from the outside of the front row and led wire to wire.
So Ian Kunchez sitting there in second. I'm good. I'll get second place points. Although David Pergande, who came back to run with JH Motorsports on the LN kart this weekend, he actually got by. He was right with Kunchez for a majority of that race. Actually went by for a couple of laps. Went to second, moving Kunchez back to third, which was huge for Mann, right, in terms of the championship. Kunchez, though, digs in, settles back down, goes back by for second. Pergande starts to fade a bit. He was having an engine issue, I believe. I think we talked to him afterwards. So he ends up finishing third. But Kunchez, again, because, folks, when it's all said and done, Kunchez wins the championship by 2 points. So we're kind of going back and forth on every position because it was a 2-point advantage. And so many times throughout this weekend, whether it was Mann losing the pole position, losing those 5 points and giving them to Kunchez, or him not being able to get by Ian in the pre-final, right? Because that would have been a point. That's a 2-point swing right there, right? If Kunchez if he gets 9 points, not the 10 points from the pre-main, we're tied in points at the end of the weekend. So and indeed it got pretty crazy. Pergande held on for third. Scott Formanek was kind of by himself in the 4th spot, and Ron Schoonover rounded out the top 5. So again, that sets the stage where Kunchez knows kind of what he needs to do. David coming in on Sunday, and Chris Mann needed to sweep the day. He needed everything, and Ian Kunchez was the fastest driver in qualifying.
Yeah, again, Okay, so we're talking about. I'm getting all confused because
I moved to Sunday.
Okay,
I moved to
all
Sunday.
right. I thought you were talking about Sunday. Sorry.
No, I was talking about Saturday there because it was
right,
Man, Kunches, Pregande, Fermanic, Schoonover on Saturday.
This is what happens when I don't write it. I can't remember.
Well, then guess what? Guess who's not writing any more notes? Yes.
Yep. So no, see, the problem was I thought Man won the pre-final on Sunday too. So that's where I'm confused.
He did win the pre-final on Sunday.
No, he didn't. That's not how they have the results.
I'm sure he won the pre-final on Sunday.
No, I think Kunchez came up through the field and won the pre-final and stole that 1 point again over Man. So that's right. Okay, now I'm remembering how that happened. Yep. So Kunchez, remember, qualified quickest, but because he made wholesale changes overnight, had to start the pre-final from the back. Again, this is craziness. These two drivers is craziness. It could be a whole season between these two drivers.
That's true. Keep talking about that.
So Kunchez started Sunday on a brand new chassis, brand new engine. So they allowed him to qualifying with it, but had to start the pre-final from the back. But because there was only 7 drivers in the field, Kunchez was able to drive his way forward, get by Man, I think by the halfway point, and then went on to win as Man wasn't able to get her back around him for the lead to try and steal those points from him, that 1 point extra. From him in the pre-final. So now I'm up to speed again. All right.
Kunches won the pre-final. You're right. That's my mistake on that deal. Yeah. So then in the main, all Chris Mann can do is win, right?
Chris Mann can win and get the fast point or fast lap bonus points. That's what he needed to do. That's all he could do. Yeah. He had to rely now on Kunchez finishing third in order to win the championship.
So here's the crazy thing is that we don't see Daniel Jones on Saturday. He's not able to run on Saturday. I think he had a wedding or something to go to or something like that. He ends up coming back. Daniel Jones was on a CRG. Kunchez is running second, but Jones is right with him. So if Jones finishes second, Man wins the championship. Kunchez needs to get by. Jones was sitting with him the entire race long, just sat there, looked super comfortable, finally ends up making the pass. Right, goes to P2. Man's going to win the championship. And Kunchez tries him back in turn 1 a lap later. Can't quite get it done. Next lap, does it again in turn number 1. Dives up the inside. Makes the pass stick. Literally, that pass gave him the championship. Crazy.
Exactly. And then Jones kept the pressure on throughout the entire race till the last lap, till the last corner. Thought about setting him up for kind of an over-under move because I believe Kunchez was running a defensive line in the final corner, and as they were setting up to make the turn, Jones drops a wheel, spins off, and drives and spins off into the grass, allowing Kunchez, because literally Daniel Jones had the entire Ruthless camp cheering him on the entire race. It was great. It's great to kind of watch that from the scale line. So when he dropped the wheel and began to spin, they all went, just agony of defeat.
And I want to say this:
what we saw.
We always talk about karting. You want big fields. It only takes 2 drivers, right? This is all the excitement for this particular category was 2 guys going for a championship. You had a couple of the guys in the discussion with Pregande and Jones. And again, this is a huge topic because it was the closest championship on the whole year because 2 guys were battling it out. They both won 3 races on the year. It's about every other point you can get when you're not winning races. It's amazing.
Yeah. Can we dive a little bit into the championship now, or do you want to do top 5?
No,
well, this is okay. So Kunchez finishes second. Pregande gets another podium finish in third with Jones spinning off. Luke Tracy moves up into the 4th spot. Jones ended up rejoining the racetrack to finish 5th. But you look because we were trying to set up, okay, what are tiebreakers? Well, who has the most wins? That would be tie because they would each have 3. Well, who has the most second place finishes? Well, they each have 3 second place finishes each because they would finish second to each other in each of the 6 main events. Yeah. So, okay, well, what do we?
You can't go to thirds because nobody finished third.
Nobody finished thirds. So, okay, what's the next tiebreaker? Andy's like, I don't know if I have one written. So to kind of help break this down a little bit further, each of them had 3 top qualifier awards or top qualifiers. So Kunchez had 3, Christopher Mann had 3.
All right.
So now you look at pre-finals. this is where it gets a little interesting. Kuncha has had 4 pre-final wins to Christopher Mann's 2. So I can even remember in Tucson, Mann was on Kunchaz a lot throughout the pre-finals and missed out on a win there, So where Phoenix, Mann got both of the pre-final wins there. So Kunchaz, because of picking up, basically you could say winning that pre-final, aside from beating Jones in the main event, which we expected him to do, but barely didn't, that pre-final win on Sunday to go from last to first, that essentially clinched him the championship.
Wow, isn't that crazy? Yeah, there you go. Again, super close. Ian Kunchaz wins another championship. Of course, he had won last year in 2022, had locked it in by Saturday and actually ran the senior category on Sunday. So not so lucky this time for Ian Kunchaz, but another win for Forward Direction Motorsports on the comp cart. Chris Manny, valiant effort. He comes in second, and Jones, even though he did not have a drop because he had to drop a 0-pointer, he ends up back in third with 131 points back. All told, David, a great championship battle, and it was a great storyline throughout the entire weekend.
Amazing. I mean, like I said, we could do a whole podcast just on these two guys.
We probably could.
We almost have, but
we almost have.
We could break it down even more.
One more. Speaking of breaks, one more break. When we get back, we'll wrap things up. We'll look at the Constructors Championship, and we'll have a look at the EKN Trackside Live Race calendar. We'll cap things off. This is listening to the Debrief after this. Established in 1999, PSL Karting has become a powerhouse within the karting industry for North America and around the world. PSL Karting is your complete source for all Burrell Art products as the North American importer, providing this top quality product through both their expansive dealer network or through the PSLkarting.com online store. Whatever you need is available 24/7 online, including safety gear, parts, components, and full karting packages. All 3 brands, Burrell Art, Ricardo Kart, and Charles Leclerc Karts, are in stock and ready to hit the track. Grab your winning chassis for any category by visiting PSLkarting.com to find your nearest dealer. PSL Karting is always looking for interest in new dealers and teams to help create new business relationships. Drivers looking to take their talents to the next level can join the Burrell Art North America race team, competing at all the major U.S. and Canadian events this season. When you're ready to win, go with PSL Karting. Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is, they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis with 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP Easy GP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA. It all started in my parents' garage, MPG. That's the foundation for MPG Motorsports, which grew from a small home garage into one of the top race teams and kart shops in the industry. A true passion for motorsports runs deep in the DNA of MPG, which has developed strong connections within karting. Now based at Whiteland Raceway Park in central Indiana, MPG Motorsports offers a wide range of opportunities through its race team while providing a full-service kart shop as an official dealer for the Kart Republic brand. The MPG Motorsports race team is led by ownership partner and karting champion Chase Jones and provides full trackside service and driver development. Be part of the MPG program at the United States Pro Kart Series, Stars Championship Series, and Route 66 Sprint Series events with arrive and drive opportunities available at those programs along with the Whiteland Club races this season. A new 3,500 square foot shop is currently under construction at Whiteland Raceway Park in Whiteland, Indiana for the new home of MPG Motorsports. The new headquarters will provide local and regional racers with a full-service race shop, and they'll provide a wide range of parts and supplies to racers, including the full chassis line of the Kart Republic brand. For more information, head to mpg-motorsports.com and follow us on social media. Let MPG take your motorsports career in the direction of your choice. Welcome back to the EKN debrief of the Challenge of the Americas. We capped off all the Winter Series programs here for 2023. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. Episode number 111. Let's wrap things up from the Challenge finale in Sonoma. David, the bottom line is pretty good weather all weekend long. A little cooler in the mornings, up to the low 60s by late afternoons. We didn't have any rain. We had blue skies. It was really just a great weekend in Sonoma.
I think this is the first challenge we didn't have any rain.
Yeah, wow. At all. You're right.
At all
Man.
3 weekends. I don't think every whether we have, a little bit at Sonoma or a little bit at Cal Speed, maybe freezing temperatures in Tucson. we didn't have any. We had wind. We had lots of wind. Tucson, we had wind. We had Tucson, Phoenix and Sonoma, we had wind, but no rain. So that was a good. You can't ask for anything more.
You look at the consistency of the attendance. And again, you guaranteed Andy Safe and say, hey, I'd love to have 10, 20% more drivers and would love to have more Canadians come down. But like 120, 117 was kind of the consistency across the season, which is good. You didn't have that big, that big Cal Speed jump and then the drop off. Overall, pretty consistent run in terms of the paddock size throughout the year.
Yeah, consistent is the word. Again, we've talked about it in the numbers, maybe more Canadians coming down. Maybe we can get some more drivers from the middle of the country, Colorado and Texas and elsewhere to be part of it next year. But again, still 120 entries a high when you have only 7 categories running. That's pretty good numbers. 100
pre-entries, as we talked about in our Outlap preview podcast, a big jump of 17 walk-ups. Ended up bringing it up to 17 entries. So all told, again, a good walk-up number for the event at Sonoma. One thing I added to this, the script, David, here was, and as we're kind of going through things, for Gary Carlton, the GFC team has really put a lot of focus on this challenge, right? While other teams are traveling and trying to go to Florida, Gary's really kind of focusing on where he is, right, in California and the West Coast. 4 championship titles for GFC, which I thought was pretty impressive, right? They end up winning in the mini rock category, 100cc senior, and both of the gearbox classes, both shifter classes for GFC. So, man, just a really good season for Gary's program.
Yeah, because again, elsewhere, they're not really chasing other championships. It's good to start the winter off with a solid couple events. We got the 3. Of course, they're going to do Sonoma. It's home. So, this is kind of their first. This is kind of really their major one they look at for championships. Aside from that, they go for race wins wherever their competitors want to go to. But to nearly, to have the large percentage of the championships go your way is a great start to the year. Yeah,
agreed. The racing was really good, as we talked about from the get-go. Sonoma just really, just the way the track lays out and all the overtaking opportunities. I will say Championship Sunday was a lot more intense. It felt to me like with all the titles on the line, people were really getting aggressive for sure. One minor negative, but I'll come back with a bit of a positive on it. It was, I think, did Andy say the first red flag that we've had in 2 years on the challenge for the incident they had on the racetrack with Ty Fisher in the 100cc category. I think that's what he said, right?
Yeah, it's either 2 or 3 years. I can't even recall the last time we did have a red flag at the challenge, and really in all of karting. It's been a long. I think we had a couple. At an event, I can't recall where, but majority of the races that we had over the last couple of years, we've not seen very many, if at all, red flags. So again, the red flag was more for precaution. He said his head hurt, his back was hurting. So again, you want when it's a child like that, you want to take precautions. And so really that was the only reason for the red flag, was that, make sure he was able to be checked out without, any type of injuries, trying to move him. And again, because he was up and walking around, having to, hanging out with all his fellow drivers afterwards anyway. So
yeah, I was going to say, I messaged Craig Feiner from Race Lab yesterday and asked how he was doing, how he's feeling. A bit of a concussion, potentially scrapes and bruises, but he's okay, which is good for Ty Fisher.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah.
After a red flag. So again, really it was for precaution.
Let's have a look now at the Constructors' Championship. 7 brands winning the 13 races, not 14, obviously, because we had only the one main event for drivers in OKN. Esprit, obviously, with a strong weekend there under the Ruthless Karting Camp with Max Altman. Altman running for Speed Sense, and then Mann for Ruthless. So 3 wins for Esprit. Talked about GFC already, a couple of victories there. 1 in the Master Shifter class and 1 for Wagner, David, and Mini Rock.
Yeah, and then 3 other brands with 2 victories as well. You had Hunter Pickett picking up 2 for Burrell Art. You had 2 with Sodi Kart, as you had Keeble picking up a win in Senior 100cc, and then Tim Barber in the the Rock Shifter Master category, and then Vasquez and Nash picking up 2 wins for EOS chassis.
David, Korn, was he on the Kart Republic?
Yeah, Kart Republic for Korn, and then Calderon aboard the Illuminus, and they'll have, so that's 1 win each for those brands.
Very nicely done. All right, let's go into the EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar. Let's wrap things up. This edition of the race calendar presented by Margay Racing and Ignite Karting. Are you interested in running a kart at one of the biggest karting events in 2023? Do you want to be part of the fastest growing series in the sport? Check out Margay Racing's Spec Ignite class and their Arrive and Drive packages. Nothing matches the affordability and competitive level of the Ignite program. It's just 1 set of tires, national level caliber drivers, where the best driver wins over the best equipment. Bring your safety gear and Margay will take care of the rest. This year's Ignite majors include the WKA Kart Week Dash at Daytona, the USAC Karting Elkhart Riverwalk Grand Prix, and the Rock Island Grand Prix on Labor Day weekend. And there are 5 Ignite Challenge Series running around the country this season. For more information, please visit ignitekarting.com today. Get off the couch and into a race seat in 2023. So, David, normally we talk about the races that are coming up. It's like we have 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 here. It's a bit of a gap here right now, to be honest, trackside-wise, for our trackside coverage. We're a couple of weeks away from you heading down to Speed Sports Racing Park for the first time for the USPKS Texas Grand Prix in New Caney, Texas. We got nothing in May, and then the next race after that is the Pro Tour Spring Nationals in June. So really, over the next couple of months, only a couple of races going on trackside-wise.
Yeah, it's the month of May. Obviously, you'll be busy. You got all the whole month. You'll be in Indiana. But for us here at eKarting News, we'll not very much travel during that time. We'll try and obviously pick up some race reports and get more insights into events going on, regional and international during that time. But trackside, next weekend I head out to Texas, get to visit the Speed Sports Racing Park for the first time. Excited to see that facility and Alan Rudolph and Jessica Rudolph been able to put together, and see the United States move west of the Mississippi for the first time. That's a pretty much groundbreaking moment for that series, and happy to be part of it. And then June 9th through the 11th at the Spring Nationals. You'll be busy that weekend calling the action there.
Looking forward to it. That's Utah Motorsports Campus in June. So there you go, folks. Those are our next couple of races. We'll have EKN trackside coverage. That wraps up this edition of the EKN Debrief, as we wrapped up another edition, the 16th edition of the Challenge of the Americas. Final thoughts, David. Just a great opportunity to be there. The Challenge crew is like a family to all of us. We enjoy being there. We all have a great time together throughout those weekends. The atmosphere at those races is just always so relaxed and inviting, and everybody is there to have a great time. But as always, great to hang out with Andy Saisman and the crew out there.
Yeah, always great to be part of the Challenge family. Those 3 weekends are very fun, exciting, and we make a lot of memories, and it's great to kind of cover our 12th season with the Challenge, even though it's been going on for 16 years. This was our 12th season, I believe, covering the program. with our trackside live coverage. So, had a number of people listening on the EKN radio app all weekend long. So that was great to see. And again, just great to be able to, be part of history. The challenge is part of history in our sport. Got to see a number of first-time winners this year and crowned this year's champions. So always great to be part of that.
Yeah, and one of the things that Andy Seisman always does in the offseason, he tries to work with the promoters the best he could. He's pretty proactive in terms of trying to make sure there's no conflicts with the major series. All those winter programs, of course, on the East Coast, his series as well, other programs in California, works aggressively to do that. And that's why we kind of moved this year to the February, March, April dates to be able to kind of, unclog some of the other months. Obviously, January being pretty packed as it is. So Andy's done a great job. I say that because obviously looking forward to 2024, how is the Challenge of the Americas going to schedule out? You know that Andy will do whatever he can to make sure that there is no conflicts in that program at all. And again, we do want to remember to remind people as well, the event in July, that is July 14th, 15th, 16th. It is Rock the Park at Pat's Acres up in Canby, Oregon. If you've never been to that racetrack, I say this before, it's a bucket list facility. If you want to have a great weekend in mid-July, hook up the trailer. If you got a camper, do that. Head up and just enjoy yourself. I think that's going to be a fantastic event for sure. I know a live band, barbecues. We had a great time last year. I won't be able to make it this year with a conflict with my home race in Toronto with the USF Pro Championships. David Cole will be there. We'll have trackside coverage for EKN. So add that date to your schedule. July 14th, 15th, 16th. Rock the Park. All put on by FTK Promotions. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into this edition of The Debrief. We wrapped up this year's Challenge of the Americas. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden.